see. He's got the, okay, somebody else turned on, so. You should be able to log into this computer now. Okay. So yeah, this one, this one. I feel like I'm in school again. I'm trying to like get off the. And you should be able to. Cool. And there's just a little like normal. So I'll just switch to other user actually. You can log in as yourself. Is it the full email? Might have to do a period between A and
Just a friendly reminder, be live, we'll be streaming, so make sure you get a very live reminder.
Thank you for bearing with the technology over here.
Found it. Mallory found it.
It was like in a corner, like under all these things you wanted for Holland. Yeah. Okay, can everyone see that? Yes, all right. Yes. All good.
All good, okay. Get started. So, this is the October 5th, Construct Recognition meeting. Start with a roll call, so when I say your names here. Cook, absent. Fowler.
Here.
Halliston.
Apologies, you can probably all hear me better now. All right, Cook is absent. Fowler?
Here.
Lambers?
Here.
Nieves?
Here.
Relinski?
Here.
Shea is also absent, and Ike, I'm here, so we have a quorum. So with that, we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the meeting minutes from the September 7th meeting.
I'll motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
So since we're all together, Anna, I don't need to do an individual roll call. I can just do an all who approve and all who deny, which is kind of a nice change for us from the last 18 months. So are there any comments before we move on? No? All who approve say aye.
Aye.
All who do not say no. I also approve, so the meeting minutes from the September 7th meeting carry. The third order on the agenda is the time for public comment. So if you are here for something other than a project and you have anything you'd like to comment on, this is now the opportunity to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that everybody's here for a specific project. All right, we'll close that one up quickly and move right on to the next then. So the next item is, scrolling quickly by.
All the minutes.
is the first item is the COA application for 237 West 11th. Do you want to tee that up for us, Anna?
Sure.
Thank you.
So Michael Collins is with us tonight from 237 West 11th Street. And he's here for two different reasons. One is sort of a retroactive COA. Unfortunately, the chimney was removed on the home. So he's coming here to discuss that with us tonight. And then he's also looking to remove a pole that's sort of like an electrical or light pole that's no longer being used near their driveway. And then if you'd like to step forward up to the podium and make sure that the green light is on the microphone. Yes, all right. Let's see. So we've got your sort of addendum quick description here. I don't know if there's anything you want to add or if you'd like me to sort of read through it.
Well, we've been to every meeting. We've done everything by the book.
Yeah.
We're totally on board, keeping the house historical, everything. We did not know about the chimney, and we totally apologise for that. We honestly did not know that was something we had to mention or, apply for a certificate. And we took it down. And I guess I got an email the next day, so we jumped on it straight away and made an appointment to see you guys. So that was the first thing. And then that brought up the issue, well, I better watch my steps from now on and make sure it's okay, because there's a pole in the front garden, and I want to know if I can move that too. So that's why I'm here today. And I totally apologise if I upset anybody with the chimney. It was in bad condition. The last owner disclosed that it was very, he had the roof done, but the chimney, he told me it was in bad condition. It was up to me what I wanted to do with it, but he wasn't going to touch it. So when I went up there to inspect it, because it was leaking, sure enough, it was leaning, plus there was movement. So it was more of a safety thing, really, and we don't use it mechanically, so we decided to take it down. I'm only up here at the weekends, and I took it down, and I didn't know if it was right or wrong, to be honest. I didn't think it was a big thing, but I guess I apologise, it is.
Is there anyone on the commission that has any questions about it? It's one of those things that it's done, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Chimneys are one of those very, they kind of indicate, as Nick would probably, as our architectural expert would probably say, they are very indicative of their importance in the home at that time period.
I understand, yeah.
I can't imagine anybody on the commission asking you to rebuild the chimney for any reason, quite honestly.
I would have left it.
And we've seen you at every meeting for the
Yes.
last, I don't know how many now, as we've worked through
Yes.
your windows and other amazing improvements that you're making to this home.
Yeah.
So I don't want to speak on behalf of the commission, but I probably have a feeling of where we are on the chimney, unless there's any discussion that needs to take place. Otherwise, since the two are in the same COA, we could move into the discussion of the pole. I'll say again here that I don't see any reason for that pole to be there, or any reason why we couldn't move it. Is there? It's not attached to the garage, is it?
No, it's just
just a
Kind of
sitting out
freestanding.
there, but I don't know if it's part of, if it's, how long it's been there, or?
Typically, that's not anything that would be within our purview, because it's considered sort of, it's not part of the home, it's not
Yeah.
a historical pole.
Okay.
It might be old, but it's not historical,
Okay,
so I see no reason why it would need to stay there.
okay.
I don't know if anybody else sees it differently.
I was just making sure, you know?
No, I get
Yeah.
it. Yeah, no, thank you, I appreciate it. Better to ask the questions and know
Ex-
than to wonder.
I agree.
I agree. I mean, on the chimney thing, there's a trend across the whole city of removing chimneys, and I think we need to work with Anna probably over the next period of time to think about that and what that means and how to address each case that comes forward, because a lot of them, they're not being used mechanically anymore and they're creating roof leaks and stuff like that, and then of course they are historical. So how do we help the residents with that conundrum? I don't think we've typically had a great solution. A lot of times residents come in and they request the chimney to be removed in it, and then we say it can be removed. So I don't see that as a major issue, although I do agree that with what you said, Kim, of the historical significance of the chimney and the what it indicates on the house. But what's done is done here, and I don't really think we need to talk too much about it.
So in that case, I think it's really just up to somebody to make a motion to, we'll make a motion, period, regarding the COA for the two items, for the retroactive removal of the chimney, and then also for the removal of the utility pole, which is an odd location on your property.
Yes.
I'll just say one other thing as I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it is, I'm glad that you got an email the next day, because it shows that the city is paying attention and taking the process seriously when it comes to these things, because the flip side of just saying what's done is done is people can just do whatever they want and then just say sorry, kind of ask for forgiveness instead of permission approach. And so I think we need to remain always thinking about that aspect of situations like this too.
And that's a good point. We take each property individually. One does not set a precedent for another. We also, as a commission, know how diligent you have been on your home and the amount of time we've spent together
Yes.
so far.
Multiple meetings,
Yeah,
and COAs.
and
Yes.
you know, working through getting this home to where the two of you would like it to be for your family.
Yes.
So that does weigh in, obviously, to the decision. We know we are being a good steward of a historic property, so,
Thank you.
yeah. So I think we really just need a motion at this point.
I'll move to approve the application for certificate of appropriateness as submitted and per testimony for the removal of a wooden pole at 237 West 11th Street based on the local guidelines and Secretary of Interior Standards number 9, which states new additions, exterior alterations, or related new constructions shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. This pole, we don't believe, does characterize the property, and it's not historic. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with massing size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. And in addition to that, I would like to include in my motion the retroactive approval of the removal of the chimney.
Great. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Turn your mic.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions before we? Okay. All those in favor of approving the COA, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. I also say aye, so the COA carries, so.
Thanks very much,
Yeah,
everybody,
thank you.
appreciate it, thank you. All right,
Okay, you're all
Okay.
set.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
thanks, we'll see you again.
Okay, I'm sure we will. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a application for COA for 73 West 14th Street. And that is for a second floor deck replacement. Hi Fatih, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Anna, do you want to give us a little bit of history? Because this one had a little extra to it in terms of, I think the deck has been replaced a few times and applications that you found through the city, so that would be helpful, I think.
Yeah, so
Thank
Fatih is here to talk about 73 West 14th Street. So the deck that is there currently, I have been unable to determine when that was added to the structure. And it looks like it was up for a COA in 2004. And the railing that was on the deck at that time is not the railing that's there today. So some other changes have been made over time. So it's just a little tricky to kind of follow what has been original, what's been done in the past. So that's what makes this one a little tricky, as Kim said. And the applicants are proposing to use Trex decking for both the flooring and the railing. And that's what currently is the flooring of the deck. And then I believe that the railing is currently vinyl with sort of cedar wooden supports around it. And we've got a photograph here. So that's a little bit about what's there now, kind of a little bit of the history. I'm happy to answer any questions or if there's further clarification.
But just for clarification, so in 2004, when it was up for the COA, the requested material was the iron railing that was put up, correct?
Yes, so they requested wooden and the commission suggested doing a powder coated aluminum, and that is what the homeowner went with.
Which
at
I think
that
there's an
time.
image of it too.
Yes, right here. So it's a little tricky to see, but this is a photograph that's dated on our records as March 29 of 2005.
But there haven't been any building permits
No,
since then, okay.
nope.
This is the old decking. We're gonna remove this. I took the piece. And this is the new products, the track. We wanna use it.
Is the old decking Trex too? But,
No, it's
okay.
really, who knows, it's composite, one of the old 18 years old, 20 years old decking, somebody did it. And this is the new really high-end products that Track company, it's really quality, we're gonna use this. And you don't even see, when you put the deck on, you don't even see from road anyway. And then this Track company has really quality handrail and sleeves that goes over the 4x4 treated poles that we would like to use those.
so from a,
The- I'm
sorry, no, I was gonna say from
The
a,
old railing was already vinyl, just like something like this material.
yeah, it just hadn't been approved at some point. It sounds like it was,
Yeah,
like the
who
other one was
knows?
swapped
Yeah.
out, but hadn't been, had just been changed, but hadn't been approved through the commission or with a, which you don't think you need a building permit for swapping out a hand railing. Not sure if you do. But visually, is the material that you're doing going to look visually like what's there now? I mean,
Yeah, this
obviously,
one.
it'll be
This
different
one is-
material than the
Yeah, this is
vinyl.
we're gonna remove it. I already removed actually, and then I took the piece to show it to you guys, and then owner and we try to use, this is really high quality Track material, Track brand, I mean, these days that we wanna use it. And it's forever thing that nobody wants to maintain those things, everything is getting so expensive for, yeah, everybody knows about.
What about the railing, though? Is the railing gonna look similar to the image of the existing vinyl railing?
Yeah, it's
So-
gonna be exactly the same look. Yeah.
And have you thought about any other materials other than a vinyl railing?
Well, there's a wood, but these days nobody wants to use wood anymore. I mean, it's optional if you guys, depends how we gonna decide it here. Of course, we respect the society but in the meantime, this railing from distance, if you look at from ground, it looks like wood. We're gonna paint it anyway, white, same look and everything. We're gonna copy the same look when you look at from distance. Yeah, these days, this company makes so quality materials that when you put it on, it looks like wood.
So the other point I want to make is that this particular home is non-contributing, correct?
Yes, it is, yes.
Okay.
I mean, owner has been trying to do really quality job. We passed through the historical district meeting again. She did spend so much money to everything she wants to use, really high-end quality material there. So,
Right, I think what we're wrestling with probably is that changes from the original changes in the original COA in 2004, or is that when it was, 2004?
2004, the
When
photos
the-
from '05.
Right, when the railing was put up, since then, a different railing and whatnot has been swapped out without it coming to the commission. So when it came up as something that, there's a missing piece of the puzzle historically, no pun intended, of what's happened with the railing and the deck on the house.
you know,
So that's why.
honestly, originally there was no railing, nothing there. There was not even deck there, probably. It was all flat roof. There's so many houses in downtown, we still see that. All those extension, porch extension doesn't even have anything.
Right, and then when a railing was put up, it was one that had come through the Historic District Commission, and then
Yeah,
something got
I understand
taken
that,
down and
yeah.
changed. So, so it's not truly it's like look for like look compared to what's there now, but not to what was originally approved. So that's, I think, a little bit of where we kind of have to noodle on that a little bit. But it is, I will state that it is a non-contributing home, which may factor into decision-making.
I don't know why it was considered non-contributing.
I don't either, really.
I would have called it contributing if I were doing the reconnaissance.
The bay window is mentioned. Again, it's not anything, I think, today that we would see, but yeah, in the early 90s when this one was added, architectural features had been changed,
That bay window is
not original.
circa, what do we, does it say?
It doesn't say.
Because
no.
it may be historical now, I mean, based on.
Yeah.
True,
I
yes,
mean,
it's
we
probably
run into
been
this
there
all the
50
time,
years.
right?
And
Yeah.
I know this house and I'm wondering if that's true.
Mhm.
Cause in the 20s and 30s, they were starting to play around with some of that stuff,
Sure,
so.
yeah.
And this is 28.
Miss Makma is the owner. She just,
Hi,
No, sorry for
welcome.
interrupting.
That's all right. So, since you're here, do you know about when the railing was changed out from the one that originally had been approved by the Historic District? I don't know how long you've owned the home, so
I've owned the home 20 years. But I bought it, it didn't have any of that on
Mhm.
there. And, I could take a 10-year guess, but I don't really know.
It's a
I
tough
mean,
one. It's a
I
tough
have-
one.
I have done so many downtown homes remodeled through the years. I mean, when we say historical, everything, how do we know 80 years ago, 50 years ago, they have done it right? There's a big question there.
If they had done it right,
Yeah, what is the historical mean of it that they have did something that we have to match exactly how they did it?
matching exactly is definitely not the goal of the commission, but making sure that we don't lose the integrity of the historic home is. There are most of the homes that come in, I mean, if you ask Mr. Collins, who was here right before, his home is going through a number of changes that are definitely not like for like, but still match the
Yeah.
appropriate historic integrity of the home. So, I don't know in this case if anybody has any.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think you're right, Kim. We're not here to match exactly, and it's sort of a different conversation in terms of whether things were done, whether we can know for certain whether something in the 20s was done better than it could be done today. That's not really the kind of discussion that we have on this commission like that often. It's an interesting discussion, but there's a lot of different opinions to that.
I would wonder what's the difference of a vinyl coating as opposed to a powder coating, which is gonna have more longevity. I don't think it makes much difference if they match the style,
Exactly.
you know, but I wonder about the materials. I still wonder about the vinyl materials. We haven't come to any conclusions on that yet.
And in
The synthetic woods.
in the staff report, did they talk about in 2005 why they recommended the powder coated?
So they did the powder coated aluminum to look more historic, I think. So it was going to be, or what was recommended, or what was proposed, I should say, were square, like poles on the railing. And the commission suggested they either do rounded spindles or sort of like the wrought iron looking fence. And unfortunately, I don't have a copy of it here, but in the file, they have like the catalog page of the fences, and then the one circled that was selected. I don't know who necessarily circled that or how it was submitted.
Right.
But it looks like it was a stylistic decision for that one, when sort of looking at what was proposed at that time.
And stylistically, were they trying to go for like this 1920s type of house, or were they just trying to go with something historical because that's what they thought they wanted?
That I can't say. I don't know.
So the proposal right now is to take the
I took
support
everything-
the support posts and the floor and use them with the Trex material that you've
Yeah.
shown, but the
This is-
railings would be.
Yeah, and railing, the whole look, we are trying to match the same thing that we're taking down simply. And then using the really high-end quality material that, just like same is powder coating, it's a vinyl coating, it's a beautiful material actually. And so when we put it back up, it's gonna be same look like it was there a month ago. And this thing doesn't even see, you cannot even see from road anyway.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
which is really nice material for me.
But the spindles in between would still be vinyl.
Yeah,
So the support posts, Trex, top rail, and spindles would all be vinyl? I'm just, for clarity, I'm just trying to understand.
yeah, and then sleeves goes over
And
the
the-
poles.
Right.
Yeah. Like as I said earlier, when you look it from ground level, after you put it up, those are the vinyls. You don't see the difference?
I think we're in a situation where it's kind of like a legal non-conforming,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't feel equipped to require anything different. I don't know how to answer the longevity question, Pierre. I don't like vinyl, but that's what's there right now.
Right.
And we don't have any profound reason from a historical preservation standpoint to recommend anything else than just replace like for like.
And if we go like for like, I just know too that we like, I'm guessing, had we gone back in time and had a COA in front of us to change it from what was there originally in 2004 to what is there now, I don't believe we would have approved vinyl. That's
No.
just so, but that ship has sailed. I think that's that sort of missing link in time, I think hangs a bunch of us up because, for me personally, I'll speak for me, because we didn't have an opportunity to suggest something that would last longer and would be more appropriate to the home. But if it's a like for like situation, I have a hard time
This product
asking
will
for
be-
something that's different than what we have there already. I don't know how the rest of you feel.
That's exactly how I feel
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
Otherwise,
I think,
The same.
I agree with the like for like, is, but I'd still wonder, like, if you had the same types of posts, and if you couldn't get those in a powder coat, that would be something that would last longer, I think. There was just,
honestly,
An
the
idea.
subject came
Yeah.
with the powder coating. I have done a few powder coating material. I don't recommend anybody, when you touch your fingers, it comes off. While we are putting the screws on, you push the screws on the material and then powder coating, it splits.
Mm-hmm. It's true, and you have little pinhole
Yeah,
holes in the powder coating that then cause corrosion.
yeah,
And then that,
exactly.
and then
In
it's
the
a
wells.
visual thing in the, yep.
And yeah,
Yeah, so
I-
I think we're all kind of on the same page here, in a good way, but, so I don't know if anybody feels compelled to make a motion at this point.
I also feel like if we were gonna say it needs to be historical, I would want to have an understanding of what is the style group of this that this house belongs to from the 20s. It really reminds me more of a 30s house, so I'm surprised that it's in the 20s.
Probably
to be
because
honest.
it's right on the cusp, it's
Yeah,
28,
must
so-
have been a little ahead of its time. But what is that style group, and then what does that style group say about upper story railings? What kinds of railings would have been common? And then seeing that in a proposal that we could either approve or not approve. And so because we don't have any of that to go by, like for like seems like a pretty logical direction. We're not, I'm not sure I'm not sure what the answer is with that.
Yeah, I just struggle with the fact that like for like, but the like that's there is not something that was approved.
Right.
Yeah, and it-
That's-
And wouldn't have likely gotten approved if it had come.
And it sounds like that happened when the homeowner had the home. It sounds like this was a project that you guys had done and didn't get it approved, and maybe that was 10 years ago. But it is sort of, does seem like that's kind of creating this issue. And correct me if I'm wrong in understanding, but that seems to be how the math works out here.
Right, if 2004 was when the iron railing was approved, then at some point between then and now is when the other was done.
Right.
I think something this visible with, if there was no railing and they were proposing putting a vinyl railing today, I think we'd all be saying no. I think the only holdback is that there is a vinyl railing, and we have that like for like.
And it's visible, I mean,
It's-
I think that's,
It's highly visible,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a big part of the look of the house.
Honestly, we trying to use this track vinyl railing. It's gorgeous thing. When you put it up, it looks better than wood. Otherwise, next thing, we have to do the wood, clear cedar, and Ms. Machma has to paint it, every 5 years. This thing, you don't even have to pay. It'll be there 30, 40 years.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether a
Debatable.
wood railing would have really been the right choice for a home at that time period. So that's part of it. It's really not about the material right now today. It's
Yeah.
what would have been
Yeah.
appropriate to the home then. So knowing that, I think we're probably at a point where we need to make a motion one way or the other. Dimensionally, it's all going to be as it is now?
Is it coded? Yeah, yeah. Every 4 inches, yeah. I mean, we just follow the codes, whatever it is.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the application for COA as submitted and per testimony for the second floor deck replacement at 73 West 14th Street based on the local guidelines. Secretary of Interior Standard number 6, deteriorated historic fabric shall be repaired rather than replaced. Where the severity of deterioration requires replacement of a distinctive feature, the new feature shall match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities, and where possible, materials. Replacement of the missing features shall be substantiated by documentary, physical, or pictorial evidence. And I'm sorry, I can't stand by that motion. that paragraph from the Secretary for Interior, I can't sit here and pretend that I can interpret that as it applies to this. So I can make a motion without the Secretary of Interior standard, but I'm not going to make a motion and then use this standard or any other standard that doesn't apply to this situation. It just, that language is exactly opposite of what we just talked about.
Right, because it's not matching the old, because the old doesn't exist at this point.
Yeah,
The
this is
old-
just the oddball situation where that does not apply.
And that's where I was struggling.
Yeah. I'm very comfortable with making motions without the Secretary for Interior standards.
Can we do
quite
that,
honestly.
Anna, on a non-contributing? So here's the rules, folks. Like, we are governed by the Secretary of Interior standards. We do not get to make up our own rules, which, that's part of the charter of the Historic District Commission. None of us can free range our own, rules. And that keeps consistency as the commission changes bodies and people over time, so that one group isn't making judgments based on one set of rules and another group is making judgments based on another set of rules. So we really do have to find the Secretary of Interior standard that pertains particularly to this in order to make an appropriate motion. And we've come into this a handful of times, I would say, where we have not been able to find one that allowed us to move forward. So this is a good point to talk about.
Because it's non-contributing.
No, not because
No.
it's non-contributing, because this standard number 6 talks about deteriorated historic features.
Okay, yeah.
And it's not a historic feature that's deteriorated.
Right.
It's a feature that's been placed on the home that is neither historic nor historically appropriate.
Right.
Is that what you were trying to?
Yeah, just
Okay.
this feels like it doesn't apply. But that's where I'm wondering, we can't make motions without it?
Yeah, but it says about retaining those
Right, and in
instead
this,
of, changing it out like they're requesting. Is there any
You
deterioration?
can make a motion and see if someone seconds it.
yeah.
Well, I'm wondering,
We
I
might
guess
not-
what,
I would prefer to make a motion that is not referencing a standard.
Can we do that?
I think we can. I
used
think we
to.
did it all the
What-
time
what
before we got
changed?
these.
Okay, so here's one. So what if we went with, just hear me out, what if we went with 10?
Consider it a new addition.
It is removable.
All right, that one seems like that one's at least not blatantly contradicting.
False.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think
It could be removed and replaced again
With
somebody
something
did the
appro-
research.
Yeah. And it's not damaging or destroying any
Yeah.
characteristic features.
I feel like that's the only one that I could get my head around that would be appropriate.
Agreed. That's the closest we're gonna get.
I don't think we're gonna get any closer.
No, nothing else is gonna work.
All right. I'll try this again. I'll move to approve the application for COA as submitted per testimony for the second floor deck replacement at 73 West 14th Street based on the local guidelines and the Secretary of Interior Standard Number 10. New additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired.
I'll second.
It's a tie. Okay. Any comments before we put this to vote?
I just have clarification.
Yeah.
If I followed this correctly, what you're saying is you're sliding us in, but, not that I plan to do this, but if in 20 years I wanted a new railing, then we'd have to go to wrought iron or whatever. We couldn't do like for like. Is that what you're saying?
In 20 years, if you needed another railing, you'd have to still come back to the Historic District Commission. We're not saying that you would need to switch to something different at that point than what you have now. But what we're saying is what you have now is not historic, and given the guidelines that we have to work within, I would say typically if somebody has a porch and their porch is deteriorating and it's a historic porch, then we would, the like for like would make sure the architectural, historical integrity of what was there is maintained. So if you had tongue and groove, if you had a tongue and groove floor, you couldn't go in with like a 2x4s, for example. And so the first standard does not really, it's not something we can use to approve your like-for-like replacement, because the first standard we were using was saying what you have there now is historic, and it's not. So what we're saying is the standard that we're using says that new construction or something adjacent to it is done in a way that it does not damage the historical integrity of your home and can be removed. It's finessing the rules that were given to work through this to get to get the change made in your porch and railing. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. So, no comments? Okay, then all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. I also say yes, so the COA passes.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Yeah. Good to see.
Anna and Mallory will have it for you within a couple days.
Okay,
Okay?
we'll get it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
Good
you
to see
so
you,
much.
Fati.
Good to see you,
Yeah.
Kim.
Thank you.
All right, next up is a COA application for 12 West 12th, the coolest address on the block. Gunnar Bracely. I always love that address, 12 West 12th. That's so cool. Hi Gunnar.
Hi, how you doing, Kim?
Anna, you want to give us the
Yes.
rundown?
So this one has some background too. This is a proposal for new garage construction. Back in 2017 is when the garage that was previously on the property was originally brought to the commission for a notice to proceed for demolition. That was granted at the time, but it wasn't followed up with. It wasn't sort of done. And so it was in October of 2020, exactly a year ago, that the notice to proceed that was used was to demolish the garage that was on the property. Hopefully that makes sense. And then jumping back to 2017, Mr. Bracely came before the commission and presented what garage he wanted to build on the property then. It was sort of partially approved with some conditions, but that project, to my understanding, did not move forward. So he's back with us today to now propose the new garage to go on the now vacant corner of his driveway. And it's in sort of an updated version of what was proposed in 2017, sort of taking, from what I'm understanding, sort of the advice he received back then. So that is where we're at today. A little bit of a twisty path, but on the basis, it's a new garage proposal.
And I remember, because I was on the commission in 2017, so I remember when we went through this, and with putting, with the plan for the new garage, at the time, there was question about the pitch of the roof and also the setback from the property line, because I believe now you have a 3-foot property line
Correct.
setback, that 3-foot property line setback that you need to adhere to.
Yes, initially, if I'm not mistaken, that was for the side, because the roof had the overhang, but in the back, I don't have the overhang.
Right, you don't have, because it's a,
So that's why in the package, it says 3 foot on the side, or 3 feet on the side and 2 on the back, but I just saw in the paperwork that it said 3 also in the back, but.
Did you, I see in your section, you've got quite a bit of space up in the attic. Are you aware that if you have any plans to occupy that space as habitable space in the future, it has to be 5 feet because of fire code?
5 feet where?
Off the property lines, not 3 feet.
I was not aware of that,
Okay,
because otherwise I wouldn't build the trusses that way.
okay. Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a cool little hangout spot up there. I'm just saying you're 2 feet off of having something that would be
a cool little hangout spot.
have
Yeah.
that opportunity versus, oh, I missed the 2 foot, I missed the setback by 2 feet, and now this thing is forever not eligible to become an accessory dwelling unit, for instance. So it's something to think about before we start talking about your project. Just, can
Oh,
you
that's
eke
good.
out another 2 feet from the property lines to make this thing potentially eligible? Because I see you have a stair and everything. That's,
That would be
from an
considered.
investment standpoint, I would move it if it were me.
And you've got a huge pitch, so you have lots of
Right.
potential space up
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Correct. So yes, we'll consider it then at that point too. I'll have to lay it out because with a
Because you got
two-car
frost
garage-
footings and stairs and everything. You're almost there.
Right, but I'll need to relay it out in order to see if my left vehicle can actually swing by the house. So I'll have to do some rotational.
Oh, that's right, because of how your
Right.
driveway is, yeah.
Right. It probably could work, but I'll have to then redo this specific layout that calls for 2 and 3, but then I'll relay it out, but I was not aware of that. Thank you.
Okay, so what are, just so we can talk through, what is your goal today? What kind of things do we need to talk through? And because a lot of people weren't, I don't think, Nick, were you on the commission then? I thought so. So the background was helpful, Anna. What type of things have changed, or what do we need to consider as a commission?
Yes. Actually, let me go up to the staff report. So, one of the first changes is the use of cedar lap siding instead of vinyl siding, which was proposed originally, with a 3-inch reveal, and that's to kind of match the house a little bit. Though the house has vinyl, correct?
Currently, it is
Yeah.
vinyl, but the plan is eventually to remove vinyl.
Oh, great, okay. And then Anderson E-Series windows are proposed. Those are double hung windows, and then the E-Series are the aluminum exterior and the wood interior. Also, the same style of pedestrian door that had been previously approved for an addition on the back of the home in 2018. It's a fiberglass Thermal-Tru, vertical panels and a window at the top, and then there's a photograph of this farther down. I can scroll through to it now or later. And then we had discussed sort of options for a garage door. I'm not
Right.
sure if you've made any decisions about that yet.
Yes, I did, follow up a little with Clopay over at, where is that at, on the north side here, the garage, provider over there. So I'm actually leaning towards more, I haven't sent them in because didn't get all the information at that point, but it will be a 3-layer gallery steel door. The question would have been more of, do I need to also add those make-believe or artistic hinges to make it look more like a carriage door? That would have been the open question at this point, but if not, then it would be something that actually has more of a wood paint on it to resemble and become much closer to the thermal door I have right now, which you see on the screen right now. You won't have the garage door and the door next to each other, but if you're standing 10 yards away, you can see the
them
garage
both,
door, you
yeah.
can see the house, so they can all gel together, if you can use that term. But the siding is gonna be cedar, 3-inch reveal, replicating the house. Pitch hasn't changed. It's very much 12-12 to follow the house itself, the Victorian style house. So it was more of, last time was more of the garage door question itself. I did not have this specific one. I was at a different provider at that point. The board wasn't, or the committee wasn't sure about that specific brand, what it meant and whatnot, so we left that open at that point. And but then again, I didn't pull the trigger then, so.
Yeah, I would still wanna see like the panel style and kind of the details of the door to make sure that kind of
Of the garage door.
is fitting of the
Yeah.
garage door, yeah.
So I do have a folder here. I don't know if, now is the time we can actually look at it, or I can send it in electronically too, but what would be the best way?
I don't know, what do you think, Kim?
If you, have you chosen one that you like, that you wanna go with?
Right,
Oh,
right.
well then
If-
let's pass it around and talk about which one you're interested in,
All right.
Yeah, cause then we can
Yeah.
add that to your COA.
rather than have you have to
Today.
come back for
Right, so who do I
specific.
give first?
Send it down to Anna's end and we'll just pass it this way. And Anna, I noticed too, in the packet, it said that the drawings are not kind of jiving with the specs in the application, so let's,
So the drawings, again, if I understand correctly, are the drawings that were submitted in 2017, but now there's been design changes. So it's the details, like, for example, the drawings still indicate vinyl siding, and some of those materials, but, what you are looking to build, the structure itself remains the same, correct?
The
dimensionally.
structure, it's
Dimensionally.
still 24 by
Yeah.
30, still the same height, same pitch. When I submitted it back in 2017, it did have vinyl on it, because at that point, the whole house was vinyl, and the garage was vinyl. But then that was part of the discussion that we had back and forth.
Mhm.
Would I consider cedar? And the answer was yes. At that point, I was considering cement boards and whatnot, or some of those different products out there, but that is not part of the discussion anymore. That's not an option. It is gonna be 3-inch reveal beveled cedar strips.
That'll be nice.
One other thing on the eaves of the garage in the section. I don't know if this was discussed in 2017 or not, but would you be open to having those soffits actually at the 12-12 pitch, raking back to the house as opposed to having them flat? You can see in this elevation, that's a perfect view, that where the eave comes down and becomes the soffit,
Okay.
that's referred to as a pork chop,
Mm-hmm.
and it's typically less ideal than letting that soffit rake with the
Mhm.
roof line. Would you be open to that?
Yes, I will be open to it.
I don't know if others on the commission would have opinions about that, but that caught my eye.
Yeah, I think it'd be an improvement.
Mm-hmm. So if the vinyl siding is changing to cedar,
Mhm.
what about the trim?
Final.
So Anna, we can approve the garage with the changes that Gunner's asking for without having to be concerned about where exactly on the property it's placed, because that's obviously your decision, and that is a decision for another board to make versus ours about actual placement on the property itself.
Correct, and
Okay.
if the design would then need to change, I think that would then come back here,
Yeah.
but
Right.
as long as it's just kind of picked up and moved.
And moved over,
Yeah, then it's
whatever
fine.
works for you.
Isn't placement more of a building permit?
Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
it is. But if something about the placement impinges on your ability to get your
Right.
car in, then we'll you'll visit us again to talk about what works for you.
Correct.
I don't know if anybody has any specific questions? Or concerns?
I have a little concern on the garage door style. I don't think that was too much of a carriage style door or historical style. It seemed a little bit more modern, made to look historical. So I would prefer to see that specific one out of the COA today and then readdressed at a later time.
We're doing it all over, just like 2017,
I
getting the
didn't say-
garage door out.
Well, that's it. That means we're onto something with our process.
Yeah,
If we're stumbling into the same situation. Would you, one other question, random, would you be open to a freeze board in the gables? That would be
I don't know
just,
how to answer that.
that would be, probably a 7-inch strip of material that would be trim material directly underneath the eaves of the gable.
I'll need to look into that.
Okay.
I cannot visualize right now.
is there a freeze board on the home?
Well, he's got that, it's like mustard
Yes.
yellow siding, right, on the home?
Yeah.
That probably covered it up, but the historical fabric would have had freeze
A freeze
boards
board under the,
on the horizontal elevation, under the horizontal soffits as well as in the gable, probably. So if he's gonna go back and do cedar everywhere someday, it would be nice to get things started off with that piece of language.
Is there anything you guys can share exactly with what that looks like, what
Yeah.
it means, or even afterwards, that's fine. I can-
Yeah, it's really straightforward. It would just become a piece of your trim package, and you do it in cedar, just like your lap siding. And
Hmm.
Justin, do you want to make a motion with your stipulation in there?
I can do that. Do you want stipulation on freeze board included in there, or just as a suggestion?
Does a suggestion become something he's allowed to do?
yes,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
that the
allow-
recommendation would be for a freeze board so that,
Yep.
And the
But it doesn't
soffit
restrict-
raking, have those be suggestions that
I would
we'd
say-
recommending, but
It-
we'd allow it without?
If it were my motion, I would make the soffit thing mandatory. But the freeze board optional.
optional.
All right. Anna, can you get me that language?
Yes. I'm not sure if if the standard it will apply for this one.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're,
Yeah. I'm wondering if 9 makes more sense, since there isn't a garage there currently. And it would be a new addition, or alright. Then I am going to move to approve the application for a certificate of appropriateness.
you've got a question, Gunnar?
So
Oh,
Justin,
yeah.
can we elaborate a little bit more about the garage door specifically? You know, when we make statement of it doesn't quite feel something, it doesn't give me much to go.
Yeah, so there's a lot of existing current historical garage doors in the city. And so you can drive around and take a look at them, look at the
did.
old wood doors, but a lot of them are typically a recessed panel door, where it's kind of a frame structure with a flat panel instead of kind of the little square panel multiple throughout. So, I would say recessed panel is probably the easiest way to describe that you could look up, like a recessed panel garage door. Or I think a lot of them are called carriage style garage doors. If you would Google that, the manufacturer would label them as that. So kind of looking for that kind of framed look is kind of more so what we would typically see on a historic garage. Does that help?
It does, a little bit. But it is a little bit frustrating to always keep running into the garage door specific issue. We
That's
look
what I
at-
was just thinking, is maybe we should add something in there where he can come back and Anna can approve? Or is that something that we really want to see? Because,
I think it's such a highly visible part of it that I would like to see it.
Yeah.
sure.
And the reason why the garage doors end up becoming important is because we've seen garages where the door has not been appropriate
Mhm.
for the rest of the garage and the home, and it sounds funny, but it's really obvious, like right away.
That's understood, but that's the reason why I asked if there is any already approved list, so I can look out of and not,
Yeah.
again, having to just go out in the blue and then come back and say, well, it wasn't quite there. It's like,
Right.
Anna, isn't there a,
Design guidelines.
yes, in design guidelines, aren't there examples of the type of doors that Gunnar could look at? Not the exact brand and whatnot.
Sure,
But
yeah.
appropriate for the age and the style of his home. I feel like if there are design guidelines, it would give you an idea of what would work and give you some starting point.
So I shared the design guidelines that were approved in May, sort of the working document.
Yeah.
Those currently don't have images, which is something I have to discuss on the agenda later tonight.
Yep.
But I also shared the carriage door information and some of the brands and examples that had been approved in the past, of course, with the stipulation of not setting a precedent.
Right.
So that's the information I shared, but I didn't include any images from the historic district right now. I just
Yeah.
didn't have access to them at that time.
Didn't the old design guideline packet that was on the city's website have that information though? Is that still around? Or has that been replaced? Didn't we work on that for a while?
I remember an old one having
Yeah.
images.
It did. I know, I remember looking at it before, like long before I was on the commission. Like I swear there's something that,
There
has
is an
that.
older one. I can
Yeah.
track down.
I was gonna
and
say, there
share.
should always be something on the city's website regardless,
Mm-hmm.
if it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, it's like, you're like, cool, let me come back here 50 times before I get a
Which
garage
I
door
know,
approved.
yeah.
And Nobody wants to do that.
I mean, it all ends up being a little bit different interpretation, right? I mean, yes, I did drive around, I did look. I mean,
Yep.
there's a house here on 12th Street just before you get to, it's after the church on the left-hand side or south side of the road. It has a door pretty much exact, at least from 20 yards away. Looked at what, I said, okay, maybe that will align, so. Again, we're going back and forth with a big price swing, right?
Was the one that you saw on 12th Street, was that a historic one or was it a replacement one?
A replacement.
Okay.
Most likely replacement, again,
That's
Sure.
what Justin's saying is the older ones have that recessed panel look, the newer ones have that stamped mini panel
Mhm.
look. And the more we drive around and look at examples that are the not historic examples, the more we sort of dissolve the historic integrity of the whole neighborhood.
mhm.
So I don't think that a new example would be applicable unless unless you have a rationale that you can share with us why it would be applicable.
So the historic district guidelines that are on the city's website right now do have 2 images of garage doors. It has this one is representative of something historic and appropriate for the home, and this one is an example of something that is not, with the raised panel, no windows, kind of, it looks like, 4x4.
Mhm.
Is that what you were thinking?
Yes, this is exactly it. That's the document I remember.
So
Yeah.
here, Gunnar, just so you can kind of,
Yes, I can,
you kind of see what,
yeah. Mine is still good.
yeah.
Fortunately, it's like what you brought to the
I know,
table.
So,
Oh, goodness.
so can I propose then, so for next time to come in for would that be something that is handled offline or outside of a meeting, the approval of the door, or do I need to come in front of the committee again? I mean, it's just fine with me, it's not, I just wanna make sure.
So if your garage was like going up right now and the door was, a hot item and you had to order it because you're gonna get it in 2 weeks and install it, we have held, special meetings outside of our normal in order to accommodate that. That is not a problem. We know that we live in Michigan, our building timeline is somewhat compressed due to seasons. So that is not a big deal to hold a special meeting. It just needs to be, notification needs to be made. So that is doable. Otherwise, right now, garage doors are still something that come that come to the commission because it's just one of those really noticeable things.
Right.
It's unlike, some, like fences, if it's replacing like for like, that doesn't really need to come to us. There's a laundry list of things that
Right.
don't, but the garage doors still do at this point.
No, what was, maybe I didn't explain correctly, what I wanted to do was maybe at least give a few options before I present here, so we don't have to go like, well, it was not quite
Yeah,
there
sure, so that's a
yet.
great idea. So if that information goes to Anna ahead of time, we all get the packet a couple days in advance, which will give us all opportunity to go through, and you can rank, these are 5, and these are the ones we prefer in this order and why. And that gives all of us to come with the
Okay.
same information of looking through them and understanding what you're thinking, so that it's a more productive discussion for you.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. We can only approve what's presented to us. So if you're presenting us that one, that's why I said I didn't want to make it part of this discussion, because if we're presenting that one, I would probably not approve it.
Mhm.
But we want to get this garage moving for you, so we'll approve what we can approve and readdress that later. But
Yep.
yeah, absolutely bring us a few options and we can
Okay.
approve a specific one or
Say,
2 or
y-
3.
Yeah,
or
we could say, okay, of the 5 you gave us, 4 are great. Here are the 4 we approve. Any of these 4, go forth and pick a garage door.
Yeah.
And I fully support a special meeting
Yeah,
Mhm.
personally.
we've done them before. They're usually fairly quick and
Right.
painless. Anna just needs to make sure that it's noticed appropriately for the city, and that we have a quorum there, so, but that's not a problem.
Okay,
Yeah, so
Perfect.
check with your garage door company, see what their timeline looks like. I know supply chain is insane right now. I work
Yeah.
for a
Yep.
construction company, so
You are well aware.
I'm well aware of that.
Right.
So if we need to get this ordered,
Right.
sooner than a month from now,
Right.
let us know. We can keep
And
moving.
Anna is a great resource, so
She
if
is.
you touch, I mean, truly, so if you touch base with her and you're like, this is kind of what I'm thinking, you know, am I pulling together things that look like they would be appropriate, she would be able to say,
Yeah, more
You're-
than happy to.
yeah, you're absolutely on the right track, or,
Go fish again.
sorry, yeah. Throw the worm in the pond again, yeah.
Okay.
So what do we need to approve? We need to approve the change in material on the side. We need to approve the man door that now matches the door that you have on the addition on the back of your house.
Mhm.
The motion would include then the soffit with a suggestion of the freeze boards, which will match most likely what's underneath the vinyl siding on your home.
Mhm. Okay.
Did I miss anything?
I wouldn't say it would necessarily
I mean,
match. It might
it
be
might-
smaller, it might be thinner. I would just say like a 7 1/4 is kind of what you'll probably end up with if you shoot for 7 inches.
And I shouldn't have used the word match because that's like for like, that's not what I meant, but what I meant is that he will
Same concept.
likely find that concept if he removes the vinyl siding from his home. So that's a better, thank you.
All right, with that said, I will move to approve the application for a certificate of appropriateness as submitted in per testimony for 12 West 12th Street, based on the local guidelines and the Secretary of Interior standard number 9. The project is the new garage. Standard number 9. This project meets the standard because new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. The new work will be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with the historic materials, features, size, scale, and proportion, and massing to protect the integrity of the property and its environment. With the motion, we are requiring the raked soffits and are suggesting and recommending adding freeze boards of cedar similar to the siding material.
I'll second.
Any discussion before we move to approve or deny? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. I also say aye, so the motion carries.
Thank
So
you very much.
COA, that part's approved.
Thank you for all the work you do.
That should be ready in just a couple days.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks, Gunnar. Good to
Good
see
job.
you.
I'll show you.
Here we go. So, I'll wait a moment. I did see that. Okay.
I'm always like, take these hellions out of here. I'm like, I know.
Quorum.
We'll be okay. Quorum's 4.
Okay, I just want to make sure because
Yep.
that was, 1 second and I'll get us started here on the next one.
Under every soffit, actually, including it along the pitch of the roof.
Truly. I don't know that he really wants to do that. Bye, Gunnar. The next up is an application for a COA, also on 12th Street at 229 West 12th Street. So for Mr. Hannigan, and this is for a pergola roof project. So Anna, you want to give us a
Yes,
So update.
absolutely. So the pergola on this property is already existing. Normally, a pergola is not something that would be reviewed. However, Mr. Hannigan would like to put a roof on the structure. It'll be hipped and have asphalt shingles. This is one of those projects, that kind of falls in that area of, who's looking at it and what needs to be said. But that's why I wanted to make sure you all saw it today. And you're welcome to jump in and explain anything else, but it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I wasn't quite sure why I even came into the historic district's, domain, but apparently it does. It's not related to the house. But the pergola's been there for some time. It just, I can see that if I don't do something with the roof. It's just a maintenance factor that's gonna keep increasing. And if I can put a roof on it, it's gonna protect it's all made from Western red cedar. I've stained it multiple times over the years, but some places where it rots, I've taken it out, spliced in new cedar so I can, maintain the integrity of it. And so the integrity's been maintained. It's just I can see I gotta make a decision. Should I move forward and try to protect it more? And plus, it would become more useful to me when it's raining. I could be outside, and so I can see more value that way.
More multi-season too, I mean.
Yes,
Yeah.
even this time of year where it starts to get cooler, you can still sit outside and enjoy it. Yeah.
So, and I know this is one of the gray ones, so is this an example of, is this image an example of what the roof would then look like?
Close. It's gonna have more of it's a rectangular structure, so it would have some elongation of the length
two
of it.
sides.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be up to a point.
Oh, I see. That's better.
It would be more of a true hip roof. Like, yeah, similar to that right there. Yep.
And the asphalt shingles, I'm assuming, would match your home?
Yep.
Thank you for, so you're right, it doesn't necessarily fall within the guidelines of the historic district, but
Mhm.
it's always great for, if there's anything that we think of when it comes to consistency between your home, which
Yep.
you've done a lot of work on, and between
Mhm.
this, it's always nice. So thank you for bringing it before us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
It's got pillars, which the pillars I made an effort to match the pillars with the house. each
You can
house.
tell.
Yeah. It's been a great structure. We had it there a while, totally enjoyed it, and so.
Well, and it's so nice when you don't have a lot of really big shade trees to kind of keep things cool in the backyard.
Yeah,
and,
that's
quite
totally where
nice.
it comes in handy. It's definitely the sun protection. It's hard to sit out there otherwise.
Can you scroll down?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there a side elevation to it?
Right here.
Okay.
Trying to work it where we're elevating it a bit so that when the pitch comes in, it's not gonna cover up there's 2x10s that are the headers that are the front facing of it, so that it doesn't cover that up. It keeps those exposed, so. The pillars are just more like a facade. It's actually 4x4s in there, and they're down in the ground 4 feet, so, or 42 inches.
Does anybody have any questions or comments or?
Can you scroll back up to the other guys?
I can too.
This one?
Is that lower header piece, that's the existing one? The one with the little bird's beaks on the ends?
Yes.
That's the existing,
It's there
beam.
now. There's actually 2 of those there that are on either side of the 4x4. So
Yep.
there's 2 that was doubled up on both sides, the front and back.
makes sense to me.
Me too. So I don't know that,
So
we don't actually need to approve it.
yeah, I brought it forward because everything explicitly says pergolas with an open roof.
Right.
And so because this one had a roof, And it does require a building permit. If it was open roofed, it wouldn't require a building permit. That's the difference.
And actually, that's kind of an interesting point, because we've run into anything with a foundation should come before the Historic District Commission.
Okay.
There are items that have not. So I understand the pergola's already built, and of course, that's excellent. So that's not the question at all, but I guess that makes sense. So do we need to formally go through the COA process, or is this more?
If you all don't think so, then no. This was, me following the guidelines.
I'll gladly give them a motion because he waited here for an
it's-
hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we looked at the pergola at 15th Street
Yeah.
as well, so.
Well, and I think with it being on the agenda, we have to do something with it.
I do too. Well, then let's go ahead and find the right motion to make, and thank you again for bringing it.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful, and hopefully this will give you an extended life
Yeah.
with it and protect what you've got there.
Yeah, that was kind of like inspired by that's the house or just across from the library on, I believe it's, would it be 13th Street?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a carport there.
Yeah.
That's Phil Myers.
That's Phil's house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's Phil's house,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's kind of where, a while back, I
But,
picked up on that. And then, but he has it covered, and that's where his roof, I think it's sort of inspired the idea of actually
Yeah.
look at that.
I'll move to approve the application for a certificate of appropriateness as submitted and per testimony for the pergola roof at 229 West 12th Street based on the local guidelines and the Secretary of Interior Standard Number 10. New additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired.
I'll second.
Okay, any comments before we put it to motion? Nope. Okay, all those in favor say yes.
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 All those opposed say no. I also say yes. COA approved. Thank you.
All
That's
right.
gonna be fantastic.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right.
And thank you again for coming and sitting through the meeting and.
Yeah.
bringing it
Yeah,
to us.
and-
Truly,
I think, Anna, you made the right call. It's one of those harder things to figure out, but it's good that he was here so that we could err on the safe side too.
Sure, yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
they'll send something through the mail or?
yep, so it'll be ready within like a day or two. I just need to,
Okay.
Yep.
it comes to
Email?
me and then
Okay,
I sign it and then it emails to you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your help.
Thanks
Appreciate it.
again.
Thank you.
And we'll let the building department know too, so you can move forward with that.
Okay, then I haven't heard that they're approved, but I'll hear from them eventually. Okay.
Definitely will.
All right.
So that's a really great one, especially because anything with a foundation has been something that we are supposed to
Mm-hmm.
approve. And since that does, that would, I mean, even though it's already built,
Sure,
but
yeah.
a change to it, so. Okay. So, next up, administrative approval.
We did not have any in September.
Anna had a quiet month.
Yes.
And then lastly, committee and staff report. So,
Yeah, I wanted to check in, we mentioned this earlier, about the new design guidelines that were approved in May. I've sort of been working on projects as they come up, and this is something I've been looking at this past month, just because, as we discussed, there's no images or diagrams attached to that document, just a very few of them. And I've talked to Mallory kind of about what Phil's plan was with that, and I just wanted to check in with all of you and make sure that there's nothing that I should be aware of, or, for example, like I'm putting all of the images that Phil kind of like wrote notes of what he wanted, and then I've been sourcing all of those, and then once those get added to the document, would you like that to come back to you then and be reapproved, or?
I think it'd be good for us to see it again.
Okay.
In that form with those, images and examples. And it would also help refresh all of our memories, since May seems like a year ago.
Yeah.
We're having like dog months, right? Everything seems like it's multiple months long. Yeah. So I think that would be really helpful.
Okay. Yes.
And it would give us a good understanding
Mhm.
as a commission of what is in that document, so that if somebody like Mr. Braceley comes and has questions, we have a pretty good idea of what's in that document currently.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. No, that's helpful for me, and we're currently under construction on the 3rd floor right now, so I've kind of got this
That's
as my
right.
project for sort of buckling down in the next couple of winter months, getting this ready to go. Because again, in the case with Mr. Braceley, I want to be able to just like hand it to him, and right now I'm kind of like sharing selections as folks ask for them, if they're not in the older documents or in addition to.
This will be a great resource for that.
I agree.
You can
As soon
point
as
to it
somebody
online, yeah.
emails because they want to submit something, then that should be thrown back at them, be like, here you go.
Yep, and yeah, when
That would be
folks ask for
perfect.
guidelines, this is what I've been sharing.
Yeah, that's
Good.
great.
Good.
Mhm.
Super.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
If there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and, somebody needs to make a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
Okay, a second?
Second?
All those in favor say yes.
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 All those opposed say no. I say yes. Motion to adjourn is carried. I know, on the dot, and we'll see everybody.